Good morning, baseball fans. Welcome to Week 18 of Major League Baseball Power Rankings. Today is Sunday, August 4th. I knew I would get that. And it's a beautiful day for baseball. We've had some wonderful series this week. We saw a combined no-hitter. We saw some teams climb, some teams fall. The largest drop is 5. The largest climb is 4. The best team this week went 5-0. The worst team in baseball this week went 0-7. Ouch. Okay, so let's go ahead and get on into it, shall we? To let everyone know who isn't familiar with the point system here, in order to get a completely objective ranking for all 30 teams, we try to take a 3-point structure where a 9-inning win is 3 points, 9-inning loss is 0. So, what happens when you go into overtime? Well, I say because if your team failed to close out a team and go into extra innings, they've sacrificed a point for the failure to close it out. However, if a team came back and managed to force extra innings, they deserve at least a point for coming back and rallying. Hence, in extra innings, you get to take those 3 points that the winning team would have gotten and you split them among both teams. So you each get a point for going to extra innings. But the winner of extra innings, who would get the win on the standings, would get that 2 points in extra innings. So, 3, 2, 1, 0. Bada bing, bada boom. So, with that, you also have a series of positions here in which have, like for example, 174 here. Not so many this week, but in prior weeks you had a lot of ties. So for ties, we take the run differential. A lot of fans kind of fall into one of two halves. Either love offense or love defense. So let's take both. Runs scored by a team for offensive lovers minus runs given up for defensive lovers gives you your run differential. The key difference here is the points are cumulative throughout the whole season. Because fundamentally, if a team has been killing it all year long, then they should be difficult to catch because they've been that good. Meanwhile, if a team has been absolutely horrible all year long, it should reflect that in their cumulative points. Because if you have a great week, that doesn't make you a great team. It means that week you had a good week. Meanwhile, if you have a good team up in the top 10 who have an abysmal week and get swept off the board for that week, going 0-7, then they shouldn't have their entire season squashed over a single bad performance. So that's why it's cumulative. It benefits the long season and the ups and downs that go with a long season, hot streaks, cold streaks, etc. So the run differential, however, is purely a tiebreaker. Nothing is actually based on that other than defining a definitive rank if you have tied points. It's a nice little fan favorite to take runs and pitching, offense and defense performance and use that as an established manner to objectively say, okay, these two teams have performed up to this date identically as far as point total is concerned. So let's take run differential and determine who should be better that week. Okay? So, speaking of which, coming in number 30, the Detroit Tigers. This is a team with which there's just not a lot of good things to say about them. They've had a very hard year. 32-74 will definitely pitch you at the bottom of the league in power rankings. But on the plus side, they are finally near getting to 100 points. Wahoo! I realize they're up here over 200, and a lot of these teams are well in their hundreds. I get that, but you're talking about looking for some positives in an absolutely dreadful season, and they're only probably a few weeks away from breaking that 100, and I guarantee everybody is going to get 100. They would have to lose in 9 innings almost every game the rest of the year to not get 100 points. So they're going to do that. They also happen to have a positive run differential. They've scored 5 more runs than they've given up. So good job, Detroit. Coming in at number 29, the Baltimore Orioles. Also having an absolutely dreadful season. They're going to have some bad seasons after last year's fire sale. And they even sold another pitcher to Boston this year in the trade deadline. So it's just, they're really not trying to contend this year. They're trying to give their young talent experience. They're trying to develop at the major league level, and thus they're down 29. Coming in at number 28, the Kansas City Royals. Another rebuilder. All of these are rebuilds. Totally get that. But they still have to rank somewhere, and their performance on the field definitely indicates a definitive rank. Some are rebuilding slightly better than others. Small sample size for only one given year, and it takes years to rebuild. I get it, but you gotta put them somewhere. Coming in at number 27, the Miami Marlins. The Marlins, under new management this year, I think, with the Sherman Jeter group, I knew they were going to go through a lot of pain. I totally get that. You're talking about a capital investor who bought the team that likes to make a proper product more. And he's a big, huge fan of the Miami Marlins, but now there's no money on the line, you definitely want to make total profit. You also have a CEO in Derek Jeter that came up in the 90s in a era in which, one of the few years of the Steinbrenner era, they actually brought up a whole bunch of talent and mixed in with existing veterans, made a dynasty out of the Yankees, and he's looking to do the same thing with the Miami Marlins. Bring in all the young, raw talent possible, and if you develop them well, you could theoretically make a dynasty out of it. I get it, just not helping you this year. You're going to go through some rough turns. Coming in at number 26, the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays have a whole bunch of Hall of Famer sons. Biggio, I'm probably mispronouncing that, Guerrero, and several others. Half a team I could swear are Hall of Famer sons. That makes them good at bats. They can hit. None of them can play defense. They did have a good week, going 5 wins and 2 losses, but there's a team that is contending in the American League East with Boston and New York and Tampa. Good luck. Not an easy place to play. Coming in at number 25, the Chicago White Sox. Had a very poor week, going 1 win and 5 losses against the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies. I get it. At the same time, they are, because of Kansas City and Detroit, only in 3rd place in their division. You know what that tells me? That tells me that Minnesota and Cleveland have such a healthy cushion in their division. It's now, I really can't imagine where the loser would be good enough to go to the wild card in that divisional race, because you are basically beating up on 3 of your own teams all season long. If that doesn't give you an unhealthy cushion and boost to help in the playoff race, I don't know what will. Coming in at Seattle, number 24, the Seattle Mariners. Bottom of their division, and yes, despite being 5th in their division, they're still above 6 teams and 3 from the Central. Go figure that one. This team was I've long kind of joked and taunted a little bit for trying to break the threshold of worst teams in baseball. The reality is that while they've been struggling mightily, and they're absolutely deserve to be in the bottom of their division, not a team that is going to be able to trade away enough players to fall below these rebuilders, from what it looks like. Coming in at number 23, the Pittsburgh Pirates, my favorite hot and cold team, in the sense that you never know which Pittsburgh team is going to show up. And this week, the Pirates went 1-2 at Cincinnati and split at home with New York Mets. Just to show you, they make things interesting, especially with that brawl in Cincinnati this week. I thought it was hilarious the fact that instead of focusing on the fact that your team just got into a brawl with a division rival, they focused on the fact that UCL Plague was traded before the brawl. He didn't even know about the trade yet, and yet he was actively involved in the trade. in the brawl, which means that he didn't care about the consequences. He was not expecting to get traded. He didn't know he was getting traded, and yet he was still center field with that. That shows you the kind of caliber of a person that is. So, but he was a Reds player. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates. They are just plain a fun team to watch because you never know which team is going to show up. Is it going to be the kind of team that will show up that will wipe the floor with the LA Dodgers, or is it the kind of team that will lay an egg against the Detroit Tigers? You never know, and that spontaneity and unpredictability makes them a lot of fun. However, from a fan's perspective, it probably makes it agonizing. I just love the love of the game, that's all. Coming in for number 22, the Colorado Rockies. This was a team in which, after they took 2 out of 3 from LA at home, I said, here's a team that was the very first team in baseball this year to have an undefeated 7-0 week. And then they welcome in the LA Dodgers to Coors Field and take 2 out of 3. I wonder if the completely left field, absolutely far-fetched theory of being able to squeak into the wild card, win that round, split in LA, then win the series in Colorado, is it all feasible or just a fantasy? Well, I would say after they welcomed in the Dodgers this week and dropped 2 out of 3 at home to the Dodgers, that is probably squashed. Fundamentally, they just wanted the East Coast trip, and they did abysmal. And then they could come home, and with home field advantage, still couldn't put it together. Unfortunately, this team went from a fun storyline to now just a punchline. I'm so sorry, Colorado. But speaking of interesting storylines, these San Francisco Giants are in 21st spot in the bottom 10, and yet they made contenders out of themselves. Woohoo! Good job! Fantastic! I need to. You know what? Yeah, I was just checking the light there. I normally have more lights on, but it looks like it's decent vision so far. So instead of pausing and trimming and cutting, I'm just going to keep on rolling right along. It looks okay. You know what? Let's just go ahead and put on some brightness here real fast. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Probably should have done that in the beginning. I apologize for the disruption. I know that was very professional, but at the same time, you know, makes it more authentic. You know, it's all good. It's all good. Wow, that is so much brighter now. My goodness. So, coming at number 20, the San Diego Padres. 4th place in the division. They are above National League. Of these two, so they're not in 4th place, they're in 3rd place? Don't tell me I have my number all screwed up here. The Giants are ranked, this can't be right. Really? Okay, so this is where I'm a little bit surprised here. I'm just going to keep on rolling right along here because the Giants, according to my metrics here, are down here, and yet you've got San Diego Padres up here, and they are a far worse team than San Francisco is right now. Check my notes, but I checked them and double checked them before I wrote them up. I was not paying attention to particulars. When I do the power rankings, I focus on the numbers, and San Francisco came in at lower numbers than San Diego, so makes for an interesting debate, I suppose, especially considering about the commentator just walked away twice from the camera to look up and to make the room brighter and look up that interesting stat. Coming at number 19, the Cincinnati Reds are in 4th place of the division. They are a team with which they went on a streak toward the middle of the year, and they've not really followed up with much. They did go 4-3, but the lack of consistency in their play all year just is not playing in their favor. They're not a playoff team, but they'll certainly play a nice little spoiler down the stretch. Coming at number 18, the Arizona Diamondbacks went from potential wild card to season's over. Honestly, when they traded Greinke, they said we are sellers, we are rebuilding for next year, and we consider this year a loss. Now, considering the fact the wild card has so many teams competing, I think 4 or 5 teams competing for 2 wild card spots. In the National League, maybe 6, made it absolutely vital for them. But management said, nope, we're going to be next year. And off you go, Greinke. And bring us in 4 or 5 prospects from the Astros. Yep, we'll take that and use that for next year. Coming in at number 17, the Texas Rangers. Third place in their division, not contenders this year, but they'll play spoilers in a number of places because they're strong enough to win games that would hurt other teams' chances to get into the playoffs. Coming in at number 16, the New York Mets held fast at the trade deadline, holding on to Wheeler, DeGrom, and Syndergaard. Now, this is a team with which has, like the Phillies, a phenomenal nucleus of players, and like the Phillies, have failed to capitalize on it. This team is not a far cry from a wild card. They are a bit of a stretch from a division because their lack of depth is not going to give them enough for the division, but they are in 4th place for a reason. They just have not turned on the light switch. At the same time, they have just screaming potential. You would love to see Wheeler, DeGrom, and Syndergaard become such a potent part of the rotation that they end up just winning every game those guys start. I mean, that's what, if anybody else did would get those players, those are games in which those teams would be banking on winning outright. Coming in at number 15, the Milwaukee Brewers. Big game of the year, looked like a powerhouse team, and definitely in a fight for their division with the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals have made themselves relevant. Imagine that. The Cardinals are in the picture. Yes, they are. Coming in at number 14, we now have a nice 3-way dogfight for our division here in the Central. With the Milwaukee Brewers and the St. Louis Cardinals being neck and neck in our power rankings. Both teams have put together quite a package to make a postseason run. And as far as wildcard teams are concerned, I definitely think that an East and Central team would probably make up your wild card, which gives both St. Louis and Milwaukee excellent reason to duke it out. Coming at number 13, the Los Angeles Angels Anaheim. They are going to play spoilers this year, so sorry, LA. You're not showing enough too late in the season to be able to become part of the conversation in the playoff picture. However, they are going to be good enough to play spoiler for a number of teams to help make things interesting. Coming in at number 12, the Washington Nationals. Second in their division, and they are definitely becoming relevant in the conversation for the division. It is not locked up yet between Philadelphia, Washington, and Atlanta. We're definitely making things interesting. Yes, they are 8 games back of Atlanta. I give you that, but being that they are starting to make a resurgence here, they could absolutely be in the conversation for the wild card. Coming at number 11, the Philadelphia Phillies are up 4 spots for the largest climb of anybody. And after going 4-2 this week against San Francisco and Chicago, they have definitely earned the right to be in the conversation. They've got a little bit of a ways to go if they want that wild card spot, and I would not eliminate them from putting pressure on the Braves. They are a good 8 games back with Washington. They're probably going to be in the conversation for the wild card, but there are so many teams here that are just locked and loaded and just haven't put together team chemistry or what have you. And the Philadelphia Phillies are definitely one of them. They have a lot of great talent, whether it's chemistry, whether it's streaks, whether it's whatever it is. They haven't been able to get back into the top 10 after they were there numerous times throughout the season. So that brings us now up to the top 10. The all-favorite top 10, where we talk about our playoff contenders, our division leaders, and the best of the best in baseball. And leading off that pack is the Boston Red Sox, who have fallen one spot because they had the worst week of all of baseball, going 0-7, getting swept by Tampa Bay, getting swept by New York. Both divisional rivals, both teams are chasing, and they are kissing their playoff hopes goodbye. Wow. I mean, it's one thing to go 0-7, but to do it against the teams you are chasing, ouch! That just hurts. Sorry, Boston fans. It's just, whether it's a combination of winning the World Series and a little bit of layoff from that, whether it's the fact that everyone's been throwing their absolute best at you for being division champions, whether it's because your team were just playing well below the potential, which is definitely the case in Chris Sale, getting beat up back-to-back starts against New York, just getting killed. Sunday Night Baseball, and then yesterday, they're just kind of riding off into the sunset at this point. Coming in at number 9, the Chicago Cubs are defining themselves as they've been in the top of the division for a while now, but now they're not just in the top, but they're putting distance. They're saying, this is my division, you'll have to take it from me, and I'm going to ride this puppy all the way to the playoffs here. They are not going to be the first place in the seeding for the playoffs, but if you're looking at a team that could be going up against Atlanta, it looks like, with Atlanta putting some distance between the Phillies and the Washington Nationals, it's looking increasingly like it's going to be a Cubs-Atlanta series, and that makes things very interesting because you never rule out a club with Hendricks, with Lester, and with Madden at the helm. But the Atlanta Braves have been absolutely tearing it up. Coming at number 8, they have phenomenal core rotation. They have a lot of superstars and rookies that are making things absolutely phenomenal. A lot of them, the people I've never heard of prior to this year. But the fact that they're able to take a whole bunch of names and they're becoming brand names because of how well they're performing, kudos to Atlanta. You will run away from your division, and it looks like you and the Chicago Cubs will be duking out for the division series. Won't that be exciting? Coming in, number 7, the Oakland Athletics are in second place in the division, and they are unlikely to catch the Houston Astros, but they are absolutely making things interesting. They're winning a whole bunch of games in which no one banked were definitely going to be Oakland wins. They've also been dropping games with which you thought, with home field advantage or other factors involved, that they would absolutely win, and then they drop. This is the most successful inconsistent team on the board. But they are in the playoff picture. How well they manage to capitalize on that remains to be seen, especially with you're looking at with Minnesota and Cleveland duking out for their division, with New York sitting on top of their division, and Tampa and Boston kind of fading from the playoff picture. They could very well be relevant. You never know. It could be a Cleveland versus Oakland division series. You never know. Speaking of Cleveland, the Cleveland Indians are in a tight match with the Minnesota Twins. Granted, the Cleveland Indians are only a few games short, so they're absolutely going to try and get that division and force Minnesota into that wild card game. A wild card scenario that Minnesota has not historically performed well in. But you definitely want to be the division winner and not in that one game win or go home scenario. So, with that being said, if they do end up in the wild card, they would make the game against the Oakland Athletics very interesting. Coming Coming in at number 5, our top 5. Whoa! Mr. comes here today. The Tampa Bay Rays, the perennial historical opener team, a team built around that opener strategy, and yet despite that, you've got Charlie Morton, Blake Snell, and others that are making this team a formidable foe. They are well out of the playoff picture for division, with the Yankees just killing it, but having said that, they are a team that is not a far cry from that wild card spot. They are, however, that's a sweeping Boston, especially they established the fact that they are a better team than Boston. And during the season series, they've been doing better as well. So that definitely gives kudos to them. Whether or not they're good enough to be able to secure that wild card spot and do anything with it remains to be seen. But for purposes of power rankings, they have definitely been in the top 10 for a very long time, and they've often been around the 5 spot. Coming in number 4, the Minnesota Twins. Winning 5, losing 1 this week shows that they are very much every bit a strong team. And after duking it out with New York the other week, they showed that they definitely have a prolific offense. Whether or not their defense can help them win games remains, in some cases, remains to be seen. They did have a phenomenal week, even if they were only playing Miami and Kansas City. But they're definitely in the playoff picture, and they are a few games up on Cleveland, so they are going to have to earn their division crown. Whereas earlier in the season, they were like 10 games up, and they were like practically a shoo-in. They definitely allowed that cushion to get eaten up, and now, hopefully, that pressure of the Indians being that close to them might spark some motivation to do something about it. Coming in number 3, the stacked, loaded, powerhouse Houston Astros, just on top of all the phenomenal talent they already have in their lineup and their rotation, just added Zach Greinke. Oh my G. They have the best record in the American League, and they just added a phenomenal pitcher. The thing they have to keep an eye out for, and I'm sure they took this new account when they gave away 4 prospects to Arizona, is that Greinke has a social anxiety disorder in which he actually had in his contract a no-trade clause to big market teams. Your LA Dodgers, your New York Yankees, your Boston Red Sox, your big market teams. He wanted nothing to do with any of them. He's a small town guy in a small town world. Now Houston, granted, 10 years ago, no question, small town. However, I wonder if the fact that they're dominant the last 2 years might be a little too much pressure on Greinke. I don't know, but I'm banking the Astros took that into consideration when they gave away half the farm system for him. Coming at number 2, the New York Yankees, who are number 1 in the division, and just like the number 1 spot, are running away with their division. They are just taking names and kicking butt. Granted, unlike Houston, they have a tremendous vulnerability in the rotation, because last week when they went up against Boston and went up against Minnesota, they, not this past week, but the previous week, their starters couldn't get out of the 5th inning, and everybody in Yankee Town were talking about, oh my goodness, we'll never make the playoffs, we'll never do this, we'll never do that, because we didn't make a trade. They didn't make a trade in 2009, look what happened. They know what they're doing. They do. The management of these top 10 teams, they know what they're doing, and they know what they need to get there. Whether or not their players can perform on the field when the lights are on, the crowd is booing or cheering, that's where it counts. Playoff baseball, and I'm looking forward to providing coverage on that. Having said that, they still have a very lethal offense and one of the best bullpens in all of baseball, with your Britton, your Chapman, your Ottavino, your, I can just go on and on. They have tremendous depth in their team, especially considering they lead the league in IL members, and yet they're still in the top 5, and they've been in the top 10, top 2 for quite a while now. Coming in number 1, when you talk about a team that's got it all together, you're talking about the Los Angeles Dodgers in California. I was going to say LA, but I just said Los Angeles, so I couldn't say it twice. Los Angeles Dodgers just proved said, hey, Dave, do you think Colorado could take us out in Colorado? We'll show you anything coming. They marched into Coors Field and took 2 out of 3 from the Rockies and see what you got there? So much for your theory, Dave. They just have no balance of potential here after going to the World Series 2 years in a row and failing to take home the crown. They're trying to do everything possible to right the ship and make sure that does not happen again. I think it would be an absolute tragedy for them to pull off a Buffalo Bills scenario where they go 4 times and lose 4 times. But they are a phenomenally stacked team, and they're saying, okay, we failed twice, we're not going to let it happen again. Having said that, I think that with LA going up against, would love a rematch against Houston, who beat them the first time in the World Series. They're not going to get a rematch with Boston. But going up, let's see here, as far as teams they could possibly face in the American League, I'm thinking they don't have enough defense to pull it off to get to the World Series, in my own opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong, I just haven't seen enough defense to get it done. Offense, they're phenomenal, and offense definitely sells tickets, but you need defense, and I think that their rotation in New York is very suspect. At the same time, they have enough depth where they could theoretically pull it off. In 2009, they went to the World Series and won it with 3 starting pitchers, and you've got in yourself a rotation that could theoretically pull that off. However, there's absolutely nobody on this board that, as of today, poses much of any serious threat against LA. Having said that, I heard the same thing about the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they went out in the first round. Try to project who could, out of the wild card round, actually take them out is anyone's guess, especially considering their wild card round is so wide open right now. The key factor is the fact that the teams that go to the wild card round are going to be so hot from having the fight for the playoff lives just to get in, that if LA cruises in September to the playoffs, that could be a little bit of an upsetting factor. Everything is up in the air as far as what's going to happen in the playoffs, but in the meantime, you've got 30 teams ranked 1 to 30, you've got your contenders in the top 10, and we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think about what I think in the comments below. And if you just happen to be browsing through the web or through YouTube and happen upon this video, please hit like and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel. And as always, thank you for watching.